Willkommen zum Automotive Podcast, heute bei Kassenzone. Salah Yamout ist zu Gast. Mit dem habe ich vor 3 Monaten in Dubai einen Podcast aufgenommen. Das ist mit Abstand der Marktführer beim Verkauf von Autos dort vor Ort. Nissan ist dort der Marktführer. Der Podcast ist auf Englisch, also seid nicht überrascht, aber das, was der erzählt, wie das da funktioniert, ist wegweisend, auch für die deutsche Automobilindustrie. Und neben mir hier sitzt Felix, mit dem bin ich nämlich heute in Berlin beim Automotive IT-Kongress. Und da haben wir jetzt schon mal ein paar Vorträge angehört. Du weißt ja auch, was Salah erzählt hast, du hast den Podcast schon gehört. Wenn du jetzt hörst, was hier auf den Vorträgen gesprochen wird, versus wie die Handelsrealität in Dubai schon aussieht, was ist so deine Prognose hinsichtlich des deutschen Marktes, Felix?
Also ich glaube, wir haben auf jeden Fall noch gut Potenzial, uns weiterzuentwickeln. Ein Großteil der Vorträge hier sind dann doch sehr Backend-lastig, sehr ERP-lastig und Co. und weniger kundenzentrisch, weniger Customer Experience-zentrisch. Und gerade das ist vom Salah natürlich unglaublich beeindruckend, wie sie den Kunden in den Mittelpunkt stellen. Und da, glaube ich, können wir in Deutschland noch einiges von lernen.
Ja, das fand ich auch. Das hat, glaube ich, fast jeder CIO erzählt, dass die sind irgendwie in der Mitte des SAP-Refreshs von auf jeden Fall irgendwas Neues auf HANA. Im Hintergrund hört ihr den Live-Krankenwagen. Also ein bisschen Soundkulisse ist bei diesem Podcast mit dabei.
Nicht für die deutsche Automobilindustrie.
Genau, aber es ist halt, die sind alle quasi sehr nach innen gerichtet, sehr darauf bedacht, irgendwie Prozesse zu standardisieren. Ich glaube, nicht ein einziger hat über den Kunden geredet. Das war alles so die interne IT-Sicht. Das ist schon ein bisschen überraschend, oder?
Ja, sehr wenig. Also natürlich ist es wichtig, so die Basis zusammen zu haben. Aber man merkt, es ist, wie gesagt, sehr produktzentrisch, weniger Customer-Centricity immer noch. Und wie gesagt, ich glaube, und das zeigen uns ja mehr und mehr Brands auch, zeigen uns mehr und mehr auch Unternehmen wie jetzt beispielsweise Salah im MENA-Market, dass den Kunden im Mittelpunkt stellen dann doch eigentlich das Entscheidende ist, eine gute Customer Experience zu liefern, manchmal auch über Technologie und über das Produkt, was ich verkaufe, auch hinausgeht.
Ja, und das sieht man ja auch, der ist ja Nissan-Marktführer, also mit Nissan ist er Marktführer, über 20% Marktanteil, also es liegt immer nicht nur im Auto. Die verkaufen einfach Nissan besser, als Mercedes dort Mercedes verkaufen würde. Also hört euch das mal an, viel Spaß beim Podcast und am Wochenende geht's dann wieder weiter mit dem deutschsprachigen Podcast und zwar mit, wahrscheinlich gar nicht. Ich glaube, ich habe noch einen Podcast aufgenommen von Energiezone auf Englisch mit dem Gründer von Tibber. Also müsst ihr jetzt mal aushalten, 1, 2 Folgen. Viel Spaß. Welcome to the Commerce Talks podcast. Last podcast today at the Seamless conference, in the Seamless Sounds Commerce Talks booth. It's not a bus. We've talked about it. It's my favorite topic. It's about cars today.
Fantastic.
Can you please introduce yourself and the Arabian Automobiles company?
Sure. First of all, thank you very much, Alex, for having me. My name is Salah Yamout. I'm the Chief Operating Officer of Arabian Automobile Company. We're the distributor of Nissan, Infiniti, and Renault in Dubai and Northern Emirates. We've been the partner of Nissan for over 50 years. Actually, we're into our 53rd year as the business partner. And we operate 3 brands, Nissan, Infiniti, and Renault. And we're in the business of selling cars, whether to customers directly or to businesses, B2C or B2B. We are in the business of servicing cars. We get about 1,000 vehicles into our workshop every day. Plus, we operate workshops for other companies. And the third business we're in is parts. We're the, if not the largest importer of spare parts for Nissan globally. So those are our 3 parallel businesses. And I run the business focusing on 3 things. First, I focus on the smooth daily operation of the 3 businesses. I look into making sure that the business is future ready. And here we talk more about digitalization, data analytics, and making sure that our people mindset are ready for and are using the technologies we're introducing. And the third thing I focus on is making sure that we're profitable as any manager.
Ah, okay. Yeah, we had a lot of online businesses today. That was not the focus of them. Can you tell quickly? We had it in the pre-talk. Quickly, the difference between selling cars here in the region versus like a European sales model.
Sure. In Europe, you've got the dealer model. The dealer model. The first thing is you don't hold much stock. Your stock is minimum. Here in the UAE, the way we operate in the region, we operate as a national sales company, meaning we're responsible for the upper funnel and the lower funnel. Upper funnel meaning ordering the right stock. And at any point in time, we've got 3 months of stock on the ground, 1 month of stock in the pipeline, and we've got another 2 months of commitments. So we're constantly working with about 6 months of stock. This is cars. On parts, we run about 2.5 to 3 months of stock. And when you look at it, you're talking about 55,000 line items, a stock worth a lot. Let's put it that way. So it's a complex business to operate. It depends a lot on data analytics and projecting into the future and understanding customer needs.
And just to get a better understanding on the difference to the dealer model. So in the dealer model in Germany, if you walk into a Nissan dealer store, usually people have a certain interest of a car, and then they start configuring their car in in the dealer website, or like in the whatever interface you might have from a B2C perspective, and then the car goes into production. And I don't know what delivery times is today. I guess like 5 months or whatever, maybe even longer for EVs. And here you said you have to assume a certain configuration set, what people want, and order on your own risk.
100%.
So, but if you only order, I don't know, yellow car with pink interior because somebody did a mistake in the configuration, that's on you, right?
100%.
Okay.
The way it works here is we have a history and we read trends in terms of what segments are moving, what customers are demanding, what's the new colors, the life cycle of a certain product, which grade to order. We consolidate all that information, and we've got product specialists along with the sales team, and they project 6 months in advance what we require. It's not an easy project, but it's something that we've built experience and know-how over the years. And that's how we work. So we're constantly trying to predict customers' needs. So if a customer walks in and demands a car that needs to be configured, we can work with them, but that's not the norm because no one is willing to wait 6 months for the car to arrive. And most of the demand is for the next 1 to 2 months.
So it's less than 5% of the configuration.
Less than 2%.
Less than
2%, the configuration of vehicles.
Because that's what usually the automotive industry was bragging about. Like for years, you can configure, 100 different setups of the seats and the color of the leather of the steering wheel. But you say that's not what customer wants.
The customer would prefer immediate gratification, meaning receiving the car in next few weeks rather waiting 4 to 6 months, considering how far away from the production centers around the world. However, if you look at customer satisfaction, we carry the highest overall opinion for Nissan globally. So yes, despite that delay, customers are looking for much more today. It's not just about receiving the product on time, it's meeting their expectation during the purchase cycle.
Before Lina steps in explaining why she's not yet driving a Nissan, at least not from the cars I understood so far you're owning. Let's talk about the market size here in the region. So I understood you're handling roughly 30,000 vehicles a year. Let's say $20,000 per vehicle. That's quite some amount of money. You're moving.
Yes.
You're moving here. But how many cars are sold? New cars are sold in the region.
And let's talk about Dubai specific. Dubai is the second biggest market in the Middle East. The biggest being Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is just double the UAE market. So you're looking here around 250 to 270,000 vehicles per year are sold.
Dubai only?
No, this is UAE. UAE peaked at around 416,000 in 2015. Then we had a slowdown up to 2020. After COVID, the market is growing. This year is growing at double digit. We've seen a 22% growth in the total industrial volume here in the UAE year to date.
And you're mainly active in the UAE or in other regions too?
We, as a group, as Arabian Automobiles, we are active in Dubai and Northern Emirates. However, as a group, Arabian Automobiles is part of and the flagship company of Abdelwahid Al-Rustumani group of companies. We are in different business lines. Automotive is one of them, but we're also in automotive in the UK, where we've got a multitude of dealerships as well, but that's a separate business.
Okay, I try to do like some math around like the market share of Nissan, because like 30,000 from 250,000 could have been more than 10%, but that ignores like the cars sold in Saudi Arabia, right?
No, that's Saudi Arabia is separate. We're selling only here in the UAE.
Okay.
If we look into,
and it's more than 10%.
Yes. If we look into Dubai and Northern Emirates, where it's our market share ranges between 17 to 19% at any point in time.
That is, if you compare, you might have the numbers of Europe. What is the market share of Nissan in Europe?
No, I don't have the European numbers.
But must be below 10%.
That's below 10%. So yes, we have one of the highest market share for Nissan in the world, and we've got the highest overall opinion for Nissan, or one of the highest overall opinion for Nissan in the world.
Is Nissan then, the most favorite brand here? Like just from the sheer amount of sold cars?
We compete with
Nissan is a Volkswagen.
Nissan
GCC?
is the Volkswagen of the GCC. Nissan is Nissan. I can't really. I need to be fair to Nissan.
I can say it.
So what's interesting about Nissan is it's part of the heritage of this country. If you drive around, 1 out of every 5 cars that are sold are a Nissan car. And if you look at, we offer everything from the basic car that's used for commercial use all the way to the 280 to 300 dirham vehicle, which is the petrol, which leads the market in the large SUV segment, and everything in between. So our offering is quite comprehensive. And we make sure that it's not just the product, it's the service that comes behind that product.
And can I just add to that also, actually, because I think the Nissan that you have an Alex understanding of, from the European market, it's very different here, exactly what you're talking about. Like any local family,
Optima is one of the Nissans. I'm just trying to figure out what is the main Nissan.
You think like of smaller cars, but actually when I think of Nissan, right? And I know when I came to this region, I also thought, like sort of like Volkswagen, small cars, affordable cars. But here, majority of them, exactly what I say, 1 of the 5, and you will see Nissan all the time because local families, majority, like the market share, if we actually will take local family market share, I would say like probably 70% of them at least have one of their cars would be that big Nissan car that, they have drive all their kids. It's phenomenal. It's completely, you would never see those cars in European market. So I don't know whether they produce specifically for the Middle East, but here the Nissan is pretty much your Mercedes-Benz, when you think of a local families. So only Europeans.
I didn't know that.
That's what I wanted to add.
When we initially prepared yesterday for the podcast and read about the history, said Nissan, okay, relevant, but it's not Volkswagen, it's not BMW, but here it is.
Nissan here is perceived with the highest opinion when they measure opinion about vehicles. And yes, it is quietly considered as the main vehicle that you have. It started off with the local community having it in front of their house as a milestone of success. But
Correct.
When we look at now where we're going, it's in front of every other house you'll find the Nissan Patrol. It's part of the community. It's part of the culture of the UAE.
That's what I'm saying. It's actually like one of your cars, 100% is like in Nissan, the one which I'm thinking like.
So when I want to buy a Nissan Petrol for myself at home, I should rather go here and buy it.
Definitely. Okay. Interesting thing is they have 2 different Nissan models. They were producing the older model, which is called the Nissan Patrol Super Safari Y61. And when they introduced the new model, which is a completely different, they did that, discontinue the old model. People were so keen in terms of having both models that they continued. And this is unheard of. It's a business case where you continue producing 2 models and they're highly regarded, with each promoted for a different utility.
Crazy. One problem of the dealership model in Europe is that there's a disconnection from the OEM to the customer. And we've talked in other podcasts, not in specifically commerce talks, but in Kassenzone, that makes it kind of hard to really excel on the customer journey. So that's why they're all talking about like the Tesla customer journey somehow because it's a direct-to-consumer model, but they cannot copy it because there's like the dealer in between. And now some of them try to get rid of the dealer, get into the direct-to-consumer model, but officially they're saying, no, the dealer is important and we need you. But it's a huge conflict. In your model, I understand, so you're responsible for everything, also like for the national marketing campaigns here. So there's no global Nissan headquarter marketing campaigns for GCC. That's you responsible for doing this?
Okay. We work with Nissan. No, it's not that we are only responsible. We do have a regional office. We work very closely with them. So if we look at the purchasing cycle starts from awareness, ends with the repurchase. In between, you've got the purchase, not the repurchase, and you've got the servicing. Let's start with the awareness. If you go to Europe, you've got two players when interacting with customers. You've got the OEM creating the campaigns. Then the customer walks into the showroom as a result of those campaigns. However, there's a big challenge in other countries, and that challenge is that you can't do attribution. So if I run a digital campaign, I can't really know whether or not that specific customer walked in because he saw a specific ad on his mobile phone. That's where the disconnect. So I don't know. I'm shooting in the dark, hoping that I'm going to hit something. So when we went to Europe to get best practices, we found out that this disconnect creates friction and creates ambiguity. Here in the UAE and in the Middle East, because we play the dual role, we are responsible for the upper funnel and the lower funnel, we would run an awareness campaign for the petrol, followed with an offer. This offer goes digital. A customer goes and starts basically reacting to that offer. So the offer basically directs him to a landing page, or he goes into our website, fills his detail. So all of a sudden, we've got the details of the customer. When that customer walks into the showroom, we would immediately know to which campaign he reacted to and what is he in for. I'll talk about that in a minute. So what happens is, whatever you do above the line, whatever you do digital, you would immediately capture on the showroom floor and attribute to that activity, and you can calibrate your campaigns to make sure that you get the best return on your investment. That's where the disconnect is. You don't see that in Europe.
Can you guide us through like this kind of journey with like a sample campaign for a new car? So what have you done? What have you tested? How have you adapted?
Sure. Look, the way we work backwards. So we say every 4 customers walking into our showroom, one's gonna buy. So we say 25% closing ratio. Then we say, I need to get how many impressions on a certain campaign so that I can get a lead. So that impression is 11%. Every 11% is quite high because we have calibrated who we target. So 11% of the people who react to our campaigns and click and get the details and communicate with us half of them end up walking to the showroom, and 1 or 25% end up buying. So that is the funnel we work with. So constantly, let's say a campaign for the Altima. Altima came out about 3 years ago. We want to promote it. We want to make sure that we sell 100 Altimas per month. So automatically what we'll do the math and we say how many impressions do we need to get above the line, and we would work backwards to get that traffic into the showroom. Basically, so the campaign would be a finance, zero interest campaign. So the number one thing we say is we want 100 impressions, let's say. The marketing team would immediately measure how many people reacted to that campaign, how many people communicated to us or walked to the showroom based on that campaign, and they would calibrate the campaign in case it's not getting them the traffic results. Once it gets the traffic results, they make sure the closing ratio is 25%. If the closing ratio is not 20 or 25%, that means the offer is not enticing enough or there's something wrong with the pricing.
When I think about like how this kind of journey works in Europe, there would have been like a TV campaign around the new car. Or like at least a campaign, maybe like also like an online campaign driven by Nissan. Though I get some awareness from a customer perspective. And then you say, okay, because this is driven by the central Nissan marketing team, they usually lack the feedback from the stores because they don't measure like the exact effect. But you might have some coupon codes or so, or is there something you are building in that you can really measuring the effect of a certain campaign?
The way we measure the campaign is following. First of all, we measure the landing page by which we did the campaign. Then we direct our customers to interact with us, because what's happening is customers do not visit your showroom unless they do some sort of an interaction with you. So the first thing we do is we make sure that we create a rapport with the customer. And as we're creating the rapport, we're trying to capture data on the customers. The minute we capture that data on the customers, we're able to tell whether or not that specific customer walked into our showroom. That data can range from sharing an email to sharing their mobile number to talking. We put a lot of effort into having a communication done with the salesman before walking to the showroom. So what happens is you're creating that rapport between the lead and the floor. And in reality, what we had an issue with when these campaigns are running, we've got systems whereby there is a rapport between the salesman or so-called salesman and the customer. And what we use is we use technology so that that rapport is created on behalf of the salesman. The salesman is the background using Salesforce, reading whatever conversation is happening, automated conversation that's happening. So by the time the customer walks into the showroom, a conversation was created with the salesman. That conversation we capture and we carry forward, basically.
It's way more advanced than many other retailers.
Yeah, it's very advanced.
Would you agree?
I think taking it as an example is quite difficult. Let me explain to you the model we work with, and that would put it more into perspective. What we do is we draw the customer journey. And this customer journey is constantly evolving. So right now, as we speak, we've got focus groups running where we're looking at how the customer journey has evolved since COVID time when we last ran that customer journey. In the customer journey, we identify at which touch points customers are interacting with us. And we look at what data are we capturing and what data can we capture to validate and to lead those customers to go into our landing pages. Let be our website or will it be a created landing page. So that's the beginning of the journey. As the customer lands on our landing page, they start communicating with us, and we're constantly promoting communication, not visits. And this is very important. As they're communicating with us, it's like drinking water from a fire hose. You get so many customers coming in. We've got in the back end a automated system that each lead lands at the desk of a salesman. The conversation that happens between the salesman and the customer is automated. So we don't depend on the sales staff to carry that conversation. We depend on a technology and that we use so that that conversation is created. By the time the customer decides to visit, we've captured so much information that we put it on the back of a customized Salesforce solution. When the customer walks into our showroom, we've got systems to detect immediately whether that customer, there has been a rapport with him at any point. That customer then is directed to that specific salesman. If he wants to see...
How do you identify the customer?
The customer is identified either by mobile number, phone ID. So we have different means of ensuring that customer is captured. Once that customer walks into the showroom, we know that we had a conversation. Guess what? The conversation with him that happened online is the back end of Salesforce. When that salesman is called out to talk to that customer, he reads the whole history. And most of the cases, it's a predetermined appointment. So he had already read the history because we push for appointments. We don't push for sales. So once you've got that appointment happening, that conversation moves forward. Alex, one of the most frustrating things for customers is to have a conversation online. They come into your showroom and they're in to talk about financing, while you're trying to figure out that their name is Alex, and you ask the customer, what's your name? And that customer is going to look at you and say, what do you mean? I'm Alex. I've been talking to you now for 4 weeks online. I'm here to talk about the financing.
You know,
so that's where
I'm surprised that you can pull this kind of stuff off. It's not even working in a call center. You know, I explain my case in a call center and then, okay, I have a person helps you. I have to explain again. Every data needs to be captured again. It's impressive.
It's quite interesting. And this is where we've been able to do the breakthrough. One of the reasons you get the success of Nissan, Infiniti, and Renault in this market because of our reputation in customer centricity. And the customer centricity comes from the back of two things, the technology and the empathetic team. And we push a lot on empathy. When a customer comes into your showroom, he's looking for three things. He's looking for validation. He's looking for empathy, and he's looking for trust. And if your team is not ready to carry the conversation forward and is able to convey these three things, you've lost the game.
How many people are working in a showroom here for you?
Right now, what we've got is our ratio in the UAE is about 15 to 16 customers per salesman. This is per month. So every customer here sells about 15 to 16. The complexity comes from the ability to use technology in the workplace. And this is what we've been quite focused on in terms of making sure that the salesman, the saleswoman, that customer reception is able to use these technologies. Because if you've got the best technologies, but if you don't have the people, the frontline staff and the support staff that are able to use those technologies, you're not going to go anywhere.
So you would say the sales case European car dealers are optimizing for like having a random person coming into the shop because he saw like an automotive ad and trying to sell on this person. That is an edge case here.
Yes. When we went to Europe, one of the biggest challenges we saw there is that each dealer has a different dealer management system, which is called the DMS. Yeah. When they want to go and they want to go and integrate with the national sales company or the OEM, you've got so many solutions on the ground. It becomes quite complex to do the integration, and the investment is so high that they are unable to. So that is one of the challenges we observed while we're trying to get best practices from Europe.
Nice.
Okay, so I think we picked a lot about the cars and how this model works. Now we are in seamless and e-commerce and digital. 100%. So maybe we can pick a bit of, so it seems like.
No, don't be unfair. don't ask him, what do we need the salesman for when you can do it online?
No, I think actually I'm going to take it to the parts part. Because over here, you know, so I think as much as we mastered maybe and please add something from the digital in selling the car. And obviously during COVID, we had to start selling cars online. So I'm keen to hear your views. But I'm also interested to hear, you know, specifically on the parts, because you are definitely getting disrupted by the marketplaces, you know, because there was a big gap in the market. No one was selling parts online. And a number of well-established automobile companies are trying to, I would say, recapture the market share they lost to the newcomers. So I'm interested to hear like 100%. Your views on selling parts, you know, but selling parts maybe on the digital ecosystem and how difficult or easy that is.
I love your question. And the biggest challenge with parts is having the right stock. You can order a lot of parts and make sure that you've got the right stock, but you're overstocked and you're going to be eaten up with obsolescence. So how do you find the fine line between making sure that you've got the right stock and the right quantity and not get into a situation of obsolescence? If you think about parts, the big players such as us, you need to carry about 55 to 60,000 line items that need to be ordered, that need to be priced right, and need to be with the customer at the right time. Very complex. So that's the main barrier of entry, is stocking right. In today's world, technology has come in and AI has come in to become the default function in terms of ordering. So in the past, what you used to do is you'd categorize your parts into slow moving, medium moving, fast moving. You would get a bunch of teams. They would put the spreadsheets, the paper and pen, and they would start. And guess what? Most of the time, they'll start getting it wrong. They would come in and start discounting, disrupt the market, and becomes really a headache. And what we've moved into, and I call it a default AI. So you don't need to build the algorithms. The algorithms are already built for you. But that's not enough. What we do is we work with Synchron. They're our partner here in the region in terms of the stocking model and the stocking software enterprise solution that we use. But what you need to build is the competency in terms of reading numbers, because what we do is we constantly track the pricing of parts in the marketplace. But if you track it online, you need a team to remove the anomalies, adjust the figures. It's called scrapping. Move it into your system, track what your competitors are pricing at to come to a conclusion. So that is a new competency that's being built into our system, where you've got the software and you've got the people. That's another barrier. So despite the market being disrupted, but unless you've got these competencies, whether the systems or the people, so that you can drive the market, I'm not worried. And what we've seen is we've brought our stocking levels down. We've reduced our working capital, reduced as well our obsolescence, and we've been able to be more accurate in terms of ordering and in terms of pricing. And that's the name of the game. And that requires volume, requires mass, and requires competencies.
Great. So it's all because thanks to digital technology, you're able to optimize it. So what about cars itself then? What's your take on starting to sell cars online, end-to-end digital journey?
Yeah, because you have on the landing page, you have already like the conversation with the customer, and then it's okay. It's still sending him like in the hands of a salesperson.
Yes.
Look, you walk into an operating room. You've got the best robotics, and they're going to run a simple operation on you. Would you be comfortable with only robotics? And what we found out when we were talking to our to customers,
yes, I would be. Yes.
You would be. You're the anomaly. Now, most customers are looking for, and most of our clients, what they're looking for is that assurance. And I talked about three things. They're looking for empathy. They're looking in terms of making sure that the decision they made is the right decision with the right partner. And they're making sure that what they're getting is what they're expecting. So there's still an element of touch and feel. We still like walking to the showroom, touching the car, seeing the true color, and having a conversation. In the past, customers would visit us 3 times to 4 times into the showroom before they close the deal. Now it's one visit that they walk in, and that visit is for the validation. That visit is because they want to make sure that the empathy is there, and that's how they move forward. So it's still an important component.
But if you can reduce like the amount of visits like to 1 instead of like 3 visits,
100%.
Do you need then less salespeople?
On the contrary, the amount of, despite automating the conversation with customers, at the later part of the conversation, it becomes online personal between the customer as well as the salesman. So the demand on the salesman in terms of preparing his customer profile when the customer is visiting, creating that rapport with the customer, even writing. Sometimes the salesman switches to WhatsApp in terms of his conversation. He's spending less time with the customer face to face, but he's spending much more time on our digital platform, making sure that the conversation is happening right.
But then I guess like one KPI managing your business for the salespeople is like the amount of cars they can sell per month. Is it?
That's the outcome. That's not their output. Their output is basically whether or not that conversation that happened online turned into a visit, whether or not the WhatsApp messaging or the conversation he got a reply for. So we don't look at the outcomes. We look at the output. The output would result into a purchase. So one of the biggest areas we focus on is how do we turn that lead into a walk-in. That's the biggest visit. And that's the number one. And we know by default, if you walk into our showroom, our conversion ratio is about 25%, basically.
For this visit, or like in general, people that are interested? Meaning that like 75% of those who went through the digital journey are eventually buying not a Nissan.
11% of the leads that we start a conversation with that are authentic, because some customers come in for service. We take those out. So what we do, the first thing we do is we take the data, the lead, and we make sure that's authentic leads, or we redirected. The authentic leads, 11% of those basically, and actually 11% of those end up buying cars from us. So what we do is we make sure that we don't go for volume, we go for quality that is converted into sales.
And on that, as you say, so, it's a very successful and you as a company doing really wonderful job. I can confirm it from the sort of seeing it around and being here around. But now when it comes to purchasing a new car, right? So I might be driving, in this region, we also change cars a lot, like faster than anywhere probably else in the world. Here we change quite regularly, and then it's quite a usual behavior of consumer. So how do you utilize that data, maybe like to kind of start offering them the next car, or like start offering the service? Like maybe you can elaborate more about that whole customer retention and making sure that when I come to that moment of changing my car, I don't go for the next, let's say, Tesla, because that's the next glitz and glam that everyone 100%. Wants to have.
We've got 82% retention of our customers. That means 82% of the people who buy vehicles come back for service. And we've won awards on AI modeling where we predict two things. We predict, first of all, what is the propensity of you coming into our workshop? And we predict as well, what are you looking for when you're coming to our workshop? So that we try to identify rejectors and try to bring them in. Often those rejectors actually are not sensitive about price. They've got other concerns in our value proposition that are quite important for them that we need to calibrate to bring them in. So our number one job is to make sure that we keep you with us when you're coming in and you're quite happy with the experience that you had.
So just on your retention definition, so what are the other 18% that bought a car? Where do they bring it?
No, 80% of the customers that buy cars, 20% don't come to us. They go to third-party garages.
Okay.
Or basically they do the repair themselves, or often miss a year and a half of repair and then decide in terms of coming back. So there are plenty of reasons.
Okay. And what is the true OEM retention? So how many customers that bought a Nissan before buy a Nissan as the next car?
The challenge with that is you're constantly talking to new customers coming into market, and you need to make sure that you've got the car park that attracts them and the constant strong communication that's making sure that bringing them into our workshops.
But how important is like car innovation? So you say the Nissan Patrol is like a super popular car here, but I don't know, it's like the next big EV generation. Can it make a huge difference to your whole business model? Because you're still dependent on a high innovation level of Nissan. So you're not able to sell like shit cars. So there must be like a decent level of quality and innovation. Dependent on Nissan.
Definitely. EVs are the future. Whether or not they're going to be using lithium batteries, that's another question, but or another technology, but electrical vehicles are the future. And Nissan does have electrical vehicles. Actually, it's a leader in electrical vehicles. So is Renault as well. Fantastic lineup with Renault. So at the right time, we're going to be introducing electrical vehicles here in the market. Electrical vehicles.
So it's not yet introduced.
EVs are successful in the UAE in the luxury segment, which is about 8% of the overall total industrial volume. So when we introduce electrical vehicles, and we're the first to promote electrical vehicles here, we found out that due to that price parity, you've got a challenge here in the UAE, because unlike Europe, we don't subsidize electrical vehicles, basically. So you see them quite often in luxury, but you don't see the same volume. But the prices are coming down. And as prices coming down, the penetration of electrical vehicles is going to increase.
The Infinity line is a luxury line of Nissan.
Yes, the Infinity line is a luxury line. Right now, we're not offering electrical vehicles.
Okay.
In the future, we will come out and basically share some news as well, but not right now.
Okay, so retention rate understands. Winning new customers, I also understand. Which is what I don't understand is, like, if you're so good in predicting the conversion rates and like building the funnel from the end, what is your growth limitation? Because if you can do it, you can go like to a certain point into your growth model where you say, okay, you need to at least generate 5% EBITDA because it's still a family-owned business. So everybody wants to make some money, but you eventually could scale to this kind of point, or have you scaled to this kind of point?
On service, I always tell the team a 1% marginal gain is a breakthrough in our retention rates, because at 80% to 82%, that's where we're hovering. It's very difficult to grow it more, yet the team is working on that.
Okay, so now as we are in this digital exhibition, and today we heard a lot of speakers talk about digital in store, right? And it's coming back. So what's your take, of Arabian Automobiles? Like, are you doing some innovation in store, considering all these customers are coming and maybe going from 25 to 26% conversion, if you like, right?
I'll tell you, the first thing we've done, interesting enough, it's not only in sales and service as well. Customers, when come in, we've got rid of desks. There's no such thing as desk. So it's not
like in the new fancy hotels.
Yeah,
they don't have reception.
Exactly. We're in the hospitality business. Yeah. You don't want to walk into a sales or into a showroom and sit on a desk. You want to be free to roam around and have that conversation. And the data is captured on the
That's actually a very good point. That's what we explained before we started the conversation, because when I told him about like the big OEM dealerships in Europe, I see like 5 salespeople sitting at desks. And I know, okay, these are people earning, I don't know, 60, 100K a year, which I have to pay with the power. Yeah, and it's probably actually a negative signal, seeing something sitting on a desk. And then I ask myself, okay, those people, they don't have any information. Fantastic. What are they doing all the time on their screen? For configuring cars? I don't know.
In our case, all our sales staff sit in the back in a secluded area. However, they see the showroom floor, and they're sitting on their Salesforce, interacting with customers, building on that rapport that was started months ago or weeks ago, or reading about the next appointment that they've got and what transaction or interactions that the system and they had historically, so they know how to carry the conversation.
But then the salesperson can also be the person doing a chat online. So it could be a salesperson sitting at one of your Nissan stores.
At the early stages, it's never the salesperson, because the salesperson can't score how serious a sale. I can't depend on it. So what we did is we made sure that the system carried the conversation early on, not the salesman. As your scoring increases through that conversation, as we start reading your behavior and scoring you, that lead automatically goes to the salesman. The salesman is given at a later stage to carry that conversation forward. Once the salesman carries that conversation, the most important thing for that salesman is that when that customer comes in on an appointment, he needs to make sure that he's gone through that rhetoric, that conversation, and taking that conversation. So our sales staff are sitting in the back with their computer, working with Salesforce, and really doing the follow-up, the conversation, and as the appointment comes. When you come into our showroom, you're met by a receptionist. The first thing the receptionist is going to tell you, what's your mobile number? The minute she enters your mobile number, your name is going to pop, without you telling her that you've got an appointment with, let's say, Ahmed. Ahmed would know you just walked in. His details will pop. The sales manager will know as well that Alex walked in. He's supposed to be with Ahmed. The sales manager looks at the showroom floor. If Ahmed is not on the showroom floor, he triggers an alert. That's on a mobile phone. So the dynamics of the technology
need this system for Spriker. I see a lot of potential.
So that's what happens. As you walk in, you don't want a transaction. You want a relationship. So what we did is we changed the configuration of our showroom. So you get to choose where you sit. Do you want to sit on a sofa and the salesman offers you coffee? Or you want to sit in a secluded room, basically on a round table? So you get to choose where you want to sit with different configuration. He's not using his laptop. He's using his iPad. So the conversation between you and him and all the data that's available is on his iPad. And that's how it goes. And by the way, that's how it works in service as well. In service, you come into our service center. You're sitting in your car. You drive into the service. You don't get out of your car. The receptionist meets you at the front, takes your data, and you can leave. That car is driven in We do all the communication, the approval online. So if you need, we need something in terms of approval, we'll send you the pictures as long as the prices and why do you need. On a touch of a button, you approve that additional repair. You come in, or we can send the car for you if you want to.
It sounds like Star Trek. That's so far away from the service level.
I can add you, like, from the female's perspective, right? So maybe like my husband is interested in hearing, like what are the details. So for me, is exactly what you just mentioned, is that convenience that they send me in the link. I don't even understand, but it's so like even the grouping, the explanations are grouped like, this is all to do with tires. They could have 20 things about tires, but it's so clearly like visible. Right. This is tires. This is engine. This is, I don't know, windshield. And then, like a very clear explanation of the salesperson, not some sort of writing that you need another Google to explain to you. But on top of it, this whole WhatsApp integration, they will send you a video. Like sometimes I'm surprised, how they go under my car and, I'm not even interested in the details, but the details are there. And it's so conveniently accessible that it just makes you approve that, I would say, the invoice even faster because you're like, it removes all the headache.
That's the idea.
Yeah, that is the idea.
It's basically monetizing your digital platforms, convenience, meaning customer satisfaction, meaning profitability for both.
Yeah. So I think it's another seamless fairy tale. So it's like coming from from the country of car OEMs, finding the pinnacle of car dealerships in Dubai is definitely something I did not expect before, but it totally makes sense in this national car sales
Look,
model.
If you ask me what's the most challenging thing, it's not the technology. We work with PwC, Salesforce, Oracle Consultancy, with Bain, they've got offices in our offices, and we're working together in developing basically project systems. That's the easy part. The hard part is how do you make sure that you've got the mindset in an organization where from the directors that I work with all the way down to the service receptions and the technician appreciate technology and buy into the technology that you're trying to introduce. That's the most difficult thing.
Nice. Really nice.
So as a final, I think before we move on, what's next? Are you looking into implementing ChatGPT, into your journey? What's next, No,
100%. What's happening is the following. We're looking at the emerging trends. Robotics is an emerging trend that we need to basically leverage more on.
How?
There are many repetitive activities that are taking place, whether with the conversation with the customer. We're still at the early stages of automating it. We need to make sure that we introduce robotics in other areas of the business. So the first area that we're looking at is where can we automate more to standardize? Especially right now in our call center. The other element we're looking at is we're generating so much data. However, we're still getting marginal benefit from it. So AI, building those algorithms is so important for us to get insights to make better decision making. We've already had success stories. We need more success stories in AI as well. But at the same time, we're looking on the medium and long and the third generation, Web3 is coming. So where do you put your resources? That's the big question. Do you put them just on right now? And how do you prepare and be ready for Web3? Because that's a game changer.
Definitely for experience standpoint.
Yeah, now I want to buy a Nissan petrol. It's here. That's the outcome.
I'll send you a car to test drive and we'll take it from there. And it'll be delivered to you here.
Yeah. I have like 24 hours to go in Dubai. Let's see how fast you can.
I would love to have you come in and we give you a tour so that you get to basically see what I'm talking about, experience what I'm talking about, and understand how we integrate people with technology to get the results we're giving.
Super interesting. I will definitely send a couple of car dealers in Germany.
You're doing a wonderful job. I must say, for sure. You're definitely ahead of the curve when it comes to general. Like I think, first of all, the leadership. Like anyone from the whole group is just honestly true phenomenal leaders. I haven't met anyone that I would be like, you don't deserve the spot. So I think, and that really like boils down to that. It starts from the leadership, the way you are definitely embracing the technology. Anytime I talk, whether I talk with vendors you mentioned, whether I talk, in other like e-commerce sort of industries, they always mention your name specifically, because they either learn from you, experienced it, or they are your customers. So definitely that comes to like a wonderful thing. And I'm glad, you get to share, with the wider audience we have listening to this podcast.
I'm really humbled. I'm really, really humbled. We believe that we've got a long way to go. We're constantly being disrupted. If we're not disrupting, we're out of the game, and we need to be, as you said, ahead of the curve. You can't be behind. The market is changing at such a high velocity. If you're not changing at a faster velocity, you're out of the game. That's the biggest challenge today.
Yeah. You should be a keynote speaker for many dealership meetings in Germany.
Thanks.
So it's like, I see a lot of tears already. Okay. Thank you for your time.